Coming up, the DHS shutdown madness continues, and it's all thanks to Senate Democrats. We have the latest updates. Plus, we have some exclusive reporting to share about these protests against ICE. Independent journalist Terry Newsome is here to discuss and explain. And finally, millions of gallons of toxic sewage flood the Potomac River, and yet Democrats aren't doing anything about it. So much for being the party of environmentalism. It's all coming at you right now on The Real Story. If you watched the local news last month, you were told that the No Kings rally held outside of the Broadview ICE Detention Center in Broadview, Illinois, just west of Chicago, was spirited but peaceful. They showed you wide shots of chanting activists, and they told you it was just a demonstration against fascism. But what they didn't show you was Emily Cahill. Now, we've obtained exclusive evidence, photos and video, that show Emily being surrounded and brutally beaten by a woman named Chela Garcia. It's a devastating, horrific situation, and it's a crucial detail that speaks to the violence that often erupts at these events. Events often put on by anarchist and Marxist groups whose members are paid to be there. But even more disturbing, here's the part that should really keep you up at night. See, the police were on the scene, but they didn't move a muscle, which is curious for those of us who fully stand behind law enforcement. So what happened? Well, according to independent reporting that we are releasing today exclusively, the Broadview Police Department, which had publicly promised a zero-tolerance policy for any kind of violence, was allegedly ordered to stand down. Why? See the gear? See the bear spray? That isn't a demonstration or a protest. It's practically a paramilitary operation. And it's being led by people like Carlos Alvarez Araños, an agitator who explicitly called for consequences against anybody who stood in their way. So who is this man? What do we know about him? And who exactly is paying for the matching tactical vests that these people are seen wearing? And by the way, while we're at it, who printed the high-quality, professionally designed signs that appeared in the hands of thousands and thousands of people simultaneously? I think it's a question worth asking. See, bear spray isn't cheap, and organizing thousands of people requires logistics, communication, infrastructure, and usually some form of payment. So what exactly does that mean, and why does it matter? Well, it means these events aren't grassroots or organic like the media wants you to believe. These are coordinated, funded, and astroturfed uprisings, and in some cases, assaults against American law enforcement, designed not to look like riots, but executed military maneuvers. And when the violence started, the people that we pay to protect us, to keep us safe, just watched. Now it's been over a month. Broadview PD has Emily's phone number, but as far as we can tell, they haven't contacted her, not even once. And it needn't even be said that if a mob of Republicans in tactical gear beat a lone Democrat woman, let alone while police officers watched, it would be the only story on CNN for an entire month. It would be George Floyd 2.0. However, all we're getting right now is silence because the victim supports ICE, and that's something to remember as Democrats, teachers' unions, and liberal pundits all over the country encourage students to ditch class and protest ICE in the streets. But now the question remains, since this chaos is obviously engineered, who exactly is behind it? Now joining us now is the man who broke this story, independent journalist and president of the Illinois chapter of Parents Involved in Education, Terry Newsome. Terry, thank you for joining us.
Hey, Howard. Thank you for having me on, and thank you for covering this for the first time. Appreciate it.
I appreciate it, and I have a question for you, one of many. Why is nobody in mainstream or national media even willing to talk about stories like this one?
You are the second big name reporter that said this. Somebody from the New York Post said the same thing. They don't want to cover it. Nobody in Chicago, the mainstream media, they want to show their view of what's going on with the ICE officers and the protests, right? I sent a letter, email this morning, trying to get the mayor of Broadview to respond, as well as copying multiple other elected officials there. It's been a month. Emily was pummeled. You know, it was brutally pummeled. And she called 911. She went to the station. She called multiple times. Detectives are going to call. They're not calling her back. You know, I was assaulted in Lombard. Same thing. I was assaulted, and I didn't even do anything wrong. And the police refused to arrest. Last week in Aurora, it's all over the news. Another guy named Val Ojeda, a crowd throwing bottles and rocks at him. The Aurora police refused to arrest because we live in Illinois. It's the communist state of Illinois. They don't want any of this stuff getting out. They hide it and they give their own distorted view of reality here in the state of Illinois, and they're not going to arrest their own.
What you just said is the crux of the whole story. Illinois is run by communists, much like New York now under Mamdani, much like Washington, much like California. I live in California. And we know from history that violence is a tactic, right? Communists use it to bring about change. They destabilize society. They use it to intimidate good people into silence. And that leads us to a question of where this is all going. So what do you think about that, Terry?
I'm concerned. I mean, I think everybody in the country is seeing we're losing the PR battle to ICE, right? We're losing that battle because the views that are being shown are the protesters, the ones creating the violence. Right? These officers are focused on trying to get the bad people, right? And think about it. These Democrats created this mess we had, right? They let them in, open border, hotels, everything. Well, now we're trying to get rid of their mess, right? What are they doing? They're making us pay 2, 3, 4 times as much to get rid of these people because they're behind all these protests, rallies, and violence. So what does ICE have to do instead of sending 2 or 3 guys? They got to send like 4 times to protect their guys to do their job that we're funding, and we have to pay for this. So they cost us in the beginning. They're costing us to fix their mess, and they're creating this havoc, and they're only given the view from the protesters' perspective. And we, as Republicans or Americans, have to change that narrative, and they have to get more people riding along with ICE to show what's going on so that we can counter the fake narratives.
Yeah, well said. To your point, though, the Marxist groups, these organizations, and I want to ask you about them in a minute, they don't care about what the truth is, right? And that's what's so hard is they're lying to people, they're conning people. They're manufacturing propaganda to mobilize and activate people, and it's working. So this is a messaging issue. You're completely right, Terry. But also, while I have you here, setting that point just aside for a minute, could you tell us more about the groups, the organizations, the people who are paying for this chaos, who are funding it, who are facilitating it?
Yeah. So, for instance, Indivisible, people should be fit. They came out of the nowhere, right? They're huge now, raised tons of money. Indivisible's behind most of the No Kings protests. Carlos Alvarez Arenos is one of the main coordinators who did ICE here, but he goes around the country. His family's Dominican bankers. He has a business. He's tied to the Open Society Foundation with Soros and Indivisible and all these signs. We need to find out, like, for instance, that one photo was at the DNC. They all have matching signs, no matter what event, right? Somebody has to start following them, following the rental trucks and saying who's dropping these off. It's everywhere. So another problem, my kids just graduated Downers Groves High School. I sent you that information as well. They have Marxist communist organization that coordinated and organized a walkout like 2-3 weeks ago, had a table set up, and they're trying to indoctrinate and recruit kids to be communists. I went and filmed them, and they got irritated that I'm filming them. Say, are you picking up kids here? I go, my kids graduated last year. Are you picking up kids here? You organized a protest with these kids, and they're trying to, right in front, and the school did nothing. This is the same Downers Grove High School that Charlie Kirk's organization made listed as one of the most radical school boards in the country. And this is happening all over. Now, another place I just found out before on your show up in the Northwest is having middle school. They're coordinating middle schoolers.
Unbelievable.
And some of the high schools up here, they had the same Marxist people showing up at different times of the walkouts. It's all coordinated, and they're pushing it down to our children and brainwashing them. Even children that aren't interested or don't know, they're going to walk out because I always would want to find a way to get out of school. So it makes it give them the impression that there's more kids behind it.
Yeah, and they don't know any better. These are kids. You're talking about middle schoolers. So what, these kids are 8, 9, 10 years old, Terry? They don't know any better. They're not political, but like true Marxists, they understand if you want to bring about revolution, you don't start with the voters, you go after their children. Indoctrinate, mobilize, activate, and militarize them.
Yes. And they're winning. Rather, I mean, I hate to say this, they're winning. I mean, they took the guys my age, the old folks are all communist, Marxist, leftist. The kids in college now were trying. Charlie was so successful. What did they do to him? He was so darn successful, and that's a massive void that we're going to have.
Yes.
And we have to do whatever we can to fight back. Chicago is the epicenter of Marxists and communists. When I go and they hand out the flyers at all the different events, it's always these different Marxist communist organizations, some you never heard of, and they have their own little nonprofits. When Maduro got captured the next day, they mobilized over 500 people just within 24 hours with pre-made signs.
Yes.
And they're up there saying how they stand with the people of Venezuela. There was an illegal immigrant woman, couldn't speak a lick of English. My friend spoke Spanish. She's selling candy with her 8-year-old kid. She didn't even know that she's from Venezuela. She didn't know that these people were protesting to support Maduro and the people of Venezuela. And she told my friend in Spanish, she wants Maduro in prison. And he told her that she didn't know until he told her. She had no idea. And so you got these Marxists up there saying they stand with the people of Venezuela. There was one Venezuelan person there who wanted him in jail that couldn't speak English, though.
Unbelievable. So let's get back to these protests for a minute as we sort of wrap things up, because this is all extremely important and Americans need to know about it. So you have all these different groups, right? There's a lot of uniformity, ubiquity, right?
Yes.
As you're alluding to.
Yeah.
They have all the same gear, the same signs, the same dumb slogans, same tactics, even the same players, right? That just travel the country, city to city, metro to metro, doing the same crap. Okay. How are these different groups communicating? Are they using Reddit? Are they using Discord? Are they on social media? Do we know anything about the communication apparatus?
Yeah, I think it's a mix of all the above, but here in Chicago, it's Signal. And they had created a wanted poster that me and Benny Johnson, Nick Sorter, and all of us, they put us on, Chicago Antifa. They're behind a lot of this. I think they're kind of laying low a little bit, because they would have been more involved. I think because they know they're on this terrorist watch list or domestic terror list. They're kind of being careful, but they have a Signal chat from my sources, and they have a number of us. They doxed us, including Greg Bovino. They doxed his address here from Chicago, and they spread it amongst themselves. Emily knows somebody who was very sympathetic on the other side, right? A very nonviolent protester, and warned her and said, listen, your address is out there. They're looking for you. And that's how we found out that there's a number they're putting our ad. They're even doxing young interns that work for ICE in Chicago.
Insane.
They find out who this young college kid is. The officers, the agents, they go in front of their houses. And then the left is complaining, take your mask off. What they got to keep it on to protect them and their families from you scumbags trying to hunt them down, their families and their children. You're the ones that created this.
Yeah, well said. Can I just say, by the way, because what you're alluding to is very real. This is a dangerous time to be exposing the truth, to be going against these violent, radical Marxist organizations. So, Terry, thank you for what you're doing, and thank you for breaking it here on the show. I really do appreciate that so much.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll keep you in the loop. There's more protests coming, and we will be there filming it. So I will share whatever I get with you, and we'll cover it.
I appreciate it, and be safe, brother.
Thank you.
Coming up next, picking up where we just left off, a school teacher in Georgia is tragically killed by an illegal alien who was evading ICE. When will enough be enough? Stay tuned. That's after the break.